Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Glad you're watching us across 270 affiliates across the U.S. and Canada. Hello to our friends north of the border. This holiday week underway. Robert Lital will sit in with me on Tuesday and Wednesday show, and we'll have the 2025 year in review shows on Thursday and Friday. Part 1 on Thursday, Part 2 on Friday. Looking forward to that as well. Bill Bender will join us to talk some college football a little later on. Sam Yarnell is here as well, but we start things as we always do with the big story. And the big story is the NFL and what just continues to be this unpredictable 2025 regular season that has literally left us scratching our heads trying to figure out who a prohibitive favorite is, trying to figure out if you're going to go place a futures bet, if you are wont to do such things, where should your money go? And the fact of the matter is, I can't even tell you anymore. And I talk about sports for a living. I have no idea how this is going to wind up because I think it's going to be matchup predicated. And with 2 weeks to go in the season, we still don't know how those matchups are going to shake out. And I know that's not a popular thing to say because everybody has to have an opinion in today's sports media. And you have to have a take. And you have to have one way or the other. You can't ride fences. But I'm going to sit on the fence right now when it comes to trying to figure out who winds up winning this whole thing. Because I don't think any of us know. Anybody who tells you they do know is lying because none of us know how these matchups are going to play out for Wild Card Weekend and then the divisional round. And I think without that information, the data is incomplete. And the only way you can make informed decisions, whether it's just talking about sports or betting on sports, is to have all the data. We don't have all the data. And the data we do have so far is so mixed. And so contradictory in so many ways that I think it's impossible to try and make an informed decision on who I think is going to win this thing. Now, there are teams that I think have value. I think there are teams out there that I would certainly would be willing to place a few dollars on. Well, like the Houston Texans. But even the Texans right now, even Houston right now, is what, 13-1? And even those odds seem a little too good now. When they were 20-1, I loved Houston because of that defense, which travels so well. Literally, as I'm sitting here talking to you, the Broncos number just went down to 9-1. It is fascinating to watch the continued fluctuations in the marketplace when it comes to prediction markets and sports betting alike, as the sports books try to figure out from a futures standpoint where to put the odds. I mean, the Rams have the best odds to win the Super Bowl at plus 440 right now. They're not even the best team in their division. That's the Seahawks, who just beat them. Meanwhile, the 49ers, who are having an amazing season considering all their injuries, you can get the 49ers right now at 17-1. Kyle Shanahan doing his best job ever as a head coach. The Eagles are steamrolling to a division title despite the fact they've had all sorts of problems. Beat the Commanders over the weekend on Saturday. The defending Super Bowl champs are plus 850 right now. The Bills, who have been up and down, they barely beat the Browns this weekend. You can get the Bills right now at 9-1. Have at it. But the Patriots, who are actually going to win the division, are plus 950. The numbers all contradict themselves right now based on what you look at in the standings. The Detroit Lions are going to miss out on the postseason, and we're going to talk more about that coming up in a few minutes with Sam Yarnell. The Detroit Lions are going to miss the postseason altogether. And they were a team a couple of weeks ago that had relatively decent odds to win the whole thing. We said that about the Chiefs all year as well. Good luck trying to sort through it. We'll be here with you to try and figure it out together. Big story part 2. The college football playoff this weekend. Redemption for Alabama and Miami. Two teams that Notre Dame fans were, stabbing dolls with and burning uniforms to try and figure out why Notre Dame wasn't in the college football playoff, but Alabama and Miami were. Well, they both won this weekend. And they both went on the road to do it. So what does that say ultimately about those two schools getting in and Notre Dame not getting in? I don't know. But I do know this. College football is a 12-team playoff. It'll have a 12-team playoff next year. Eventually, it'll get to 16, and who knows how many other teams will be involved. Here's what I do know. The idea of inclusion and having the group, these group of 5 conferences that had to get in, that allowed for James Madison and Tulane to get in. And congratulations to those schools on great regular seasons. It cannot continue. This is not a situation that could be allowed to continue in college football because those programs simply don't meet the standards of being one of the best 12 schools in the country. And I'll even throw something else out there at you, and I'm interested to get Bill Bender's thoughts on this from the Sporting News when he joins us later in the show. If they had this thing at 24 teams next year, if this year it were 24 teams, do Tulane and James Madison still make it? If we're just taking the best 24 teams in college football, are Tulane and James Madison in there? Now, I know James Madison, I think, was near the bottom of the top 25. Like, they were in there somewhere. But are those two schools, based on what we've now seen and have the complete body of work, James Madison and Tulane, are they even getting in a 24-team field? And I know that's harsh. And I know for those programs, it's going to rub them the wrong way to hear me say that. But the fact of the matter is the job of this tournament, it isn't like the NCAA men's basketball tournament where you have 68 teams and everybody gets an opportunity and, teams from the NEC can get in and make some crazy run to the, Elite Eight or Final Four as we've seen happen. All those things are great. College football's not built the same way. You can't take what works for the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and I guess to some degree the women's tournament, and try and foist that onto college football and think you're going to have the same result, because what you have instead is what you had this weekend, which was 2 non-competitive games. And again, fans at Notre Dame and Texas and Duke saying, why aren't we playing in these games? That's the big story on this Monday edition of the show. We're talking NFL next. Sam Yarnell is here. Good to be with you on this Monday edition of the show. The only day this week we are scheduled to be graced with the presence of Sam Yarnell. Where are you going for the holidays, by the way? If you can
visit my parents.
Okay. Midwest or D.C.?
No, upstate New York.
Oh. First prize a week in upstate New York. Second prize 2 weeks in upstate New York. Look, there's a lot to get to from the weekend. We'll only get to as much as we have time for here with you today, but let's talk about a couple of the more interesting, I guess you could say, results from the weekend that was, and start with the Jags, who are anything but Jags. Look, what they did in Denver, and look, all season long I've been waiting for this, clock to strike midnight on this Denver story. And I don't want to do one of these things where I say, see, I told you they're frauds, because they won like a zillion games in a row. But that had to be an alarming performance from that defense, which has really been the calling card of Sean Payton's team and what Vance Joseph has done. When the Jags go in there and just tear you up, I thought this was an under game for sure. On Friday, I said this was my favorite game of the week as far as the under's concerned, and at halftime, I'm tearing up tickets.
Yeah, Jason, this is this game. Wow. Did you think that the AFC East was wide open? Because if you didn't, this game should show you that the AFC, or I'm sorry, I said the AFC East. The AFC as a conference is wide open. Because this game should show you that the AFC as a conference is wide open. Now, do I believe in the Jaguars? This is a question you've asked me, gosh, twice in 2 years on this show. No, still my answer. No, I don't believe in the Jaguars. I don't think Trevor Lawrence can win a playoff game. I think Liam Cohen's a great coach. I think he should very well be in conversation, especially after a game like yesterday, for Coach of the Year, and should be knocking out guys like Mike Vrabel, who very clearly should not be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. But all of that said, I am still not ready to say, yep, the Jaguars are AFC conference contenders. Now, on the other side of that, are you ready to write off the Broncos? I don't know. I don't know if I was ever ready to write on the Broncos. I was never in the Jason Page camp of they're not going to be contenders this season. I don't know if I was ever fully in on them as contenders, but it certainly doesn't help their case. You had a 12-game home winning streak, and an AFC South team just came in and snapped it? Huh?
I'm not like ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater here when it comes to the Broncos. I still think they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And look, you'd rather have this loss now than in, your first playoff game of the postseason. You'd rather get this loss out of your system. Now, take the Patriots as an example. The loss last week against Buffalo, and then they come back this week down 11, to the Ravens and get a win. We'll get to them a little later on in the show. I agree with you, though. And I said this at the top of the show, so it's just an extension of what I said there. It just, again, screams to the fact that there is no favor. I said it yesterday. I did a SportsWrap short on it, Sam, and we don't have time to get to Houston. To me, the most dangerous team in these playoffs is the Houston Texans. I will give, and I know they barely beat the Raiders yesterday. But you know what? There's no such thing as. I'm done with the idea of bad wins anymore because you're just trying to survive week to week and get through some of these games. And they didn't play very well yesterday, and they still won. But to me, I think I can get Houston at like 20-1 right now. I'll take Houston. That's where I'll go throw my money if I'm looking for value right now. It's on a team like Houston, Sam. Real quick, because I want to get to the Steelers.
Yes, no, and if you made me pick an AFC South team, I am with you, Jason Page. There is concern for me right now. It's 2 weeks in a row. That defense, which has been vaunted all season, right, has given up 20-plus points to the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. We know defense is volatile in the NFL. I'm hoping it's not the turning for them. But again, I'm with you. If I had to pick an AFC South team in the AFC this year, it's got to be the Houston Texans. I cannot get there, as Sam Yarnell would say, on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They're down to 13-1 now. I thought they were as high as 20 at one point. They're down. You can get the Texans now. They're only at 13-1. That kind of surprises me. Steelers Lions. Look, I mean, let me just get the DK Metcalf thing out of the way. How that happens from a myriad of ways, I can't understand. One, where's security? This kid's down there. I mean, this thing played out. Where is security while this is happening? Where is anybody from the Steelers to get over to him? They got all these security people all on the sidelines. All these teams have these strong men. I don't understand how any of that was allowed to take place, Sam.
Yeah, wild. I mean, it's inexcusable. You have to figure, obviously we're doing this before the news comes down, but you have to figure there will be a suspension inevitably for DK Metcalf.
Mike Florio said the precedent, though, is only a fine and not a suspension. And if this isn't a suspension, I don't know what this league is doing, but go ahead.
No, I'm with you, though. I'm with you 100%. It's got to be a suspension. It's got to be at least one game. I would say probably 2. 3 is probably overdoing it. But again, I'd understand it. He punched a kid in the face. Like, what are we talking about here? And it's DK Metcalf. It's a guy with a demonstrated history of being insane in football pads. Like, this isn't like some random player doing it. It's a guy who's been crazy on the football field before. Go back to TikTok, DK.
Sam, we need way more time to flush this out than we have, but the Lions are going to miss the playoffs.
They are.
The Lions are going to miss the playoffs. This is a team that some people thought was potentially a Super Bowl winner, especially in a wide open season like this, Sam. They're going to miss the playoffs. What does the reckoning look like?
Think about it like this. They're one game better right now than the Minnesota Vikings. As wild as that franchise has been this season. Jason, I don't know what the reckoning is. And I think there is some element of it that you can chalk up to. It's been a weird 2-year run for the Lions. They were gutted after last season, right? I want to still believe in them, especially going into next year. But they're going to have to bring something together.
I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how you fix it. You know, you're not firing Dan Campbell. Is it Jared Goff that has to go? I mean, what's the solution? That's what I'm most anxious to find out about. All right, Bill Bender's going to join us from the Sporting News. Ton of college football to get to from the playoffs this weekend, the ins and outs, the machinations of it all. We'll do it next. Good to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show. I talked about it a bit in the big story. We will expand upon it now. The college football playoff opening weekend. Road teams, the story. And teams that kind of flopped that we thought would flop. Bill Bender is here. Sporting News does a terrific job on all things football, including college football, hangs out with us on the show. So let me start with Miami. Validation? Does this validate, they're getting the spot over Notre Dame in your mind?
A little bit, but I mean, it was more about their defense in general. Reuben Bain probably asserted himself as the number one pick in the NFL draft, perhaps, the way that he played. I mean, that was an ugly game, a defensive game, a back and forth game, all of that. Miami missed several opportunities to extend the lead. The special teams on both sides were miserable. But the larger takeaway for me is the U is actually back in a big game now. When we get to see them play Ohio State on New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl, it was an impressive performance.
Bill, you took the words right out of my mouth with the Reuben Bain question in the NFL draft. So I'll pivot to a different player in this game, Marcel Reed. Obviously, this is a guy who's had a ton of narratives around him all year, both good and bad, right? At one point, we were talking about this guy as a Heisman contender. He didn't look very good in this game. What is your takeaway from Reed going into next season?
Well, I mean, we'll see. The thing with Marcel Reed was he took a lot of sacks last season, didn't take a lot of sacks this season. He took 10 sacks, but he also had 10 interceptions. And the mistakes were killer in this game, right? Like you have the late interception that we all saw, the third quarter interception, both by Bryce Fitzgerald. I think he's a nice player, very creative. I want to see how he responds to not having Colin Klein. I think Colin Klein was one of the better offensive coordinators in the game this season, and then he's going to Kansas State.
Alabama, same question. We watched them get beat by Georgia, and the reaction everybody had to them getting into the playoffs with 3 losses. Your reaction to what we saw at Alabama after, basically giving up 17 points to start the game and being down 17-0. And I read every tweet and text and everything in the world saying, see, Notre Dame this, Notre Dame that. And then it got real quiet.
Yeah, that 17-0, it was a different universe. Kalen DeBoer was Michigan's coach at that point. You know that. Again, a little bit of validation for Alabama. Impressed with how Kalen DeBoer called the second half. That 4th and 2 call really changed the game. Got them back in it, and then they get a block punt, and it kind of spiraled out of control for Oklahoma. Here's the interesting thing. I was wondering, I'm going to ask you guys, as that game was unfolding, it's like, well, what will the spread be with Indiana? I thought it would be lower because the bettors and the perception and Alabama's blue blood and all that I thought the line might be 3.5 or 4.5. They actually are respecting Indiana a little bit.
Yeah, Vegas is usually pretty good at taking the emotion out of it, though. Sam, you'd probably You'd probably agree with that.
It is very interesting, though, to see. I will be fascinated to see how this line shifts over the course of the next, 9 days that we have until this game takes place, because you know that there's going to be a lot of sharp money that comes in on this game, and it's going to move that line. I bet you we see a 2-point standard deviation with this line, right? I'll bet we'll see it as low as 6.5 at one point in some spots and as high as 8.5 in other points at other spots.
Yeah, and it really is an interesting spot for Indiana. That they have all the metrics. So the only team left in the playoff that has a top 3 scoring offense, top 3 scoring defense, and we doubt them at every turn, as you know, Sam. Whether it was Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, and they continue to prove everybody wrong. That said, talent won't be the issue for Alabama here. It will be execution. It will be making the right plays, and it will probably rest a little bit on Ty Simpson if they want to go out to the Rose Bowl and win.
I said this in the big story, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. I know a lot of the anger is geared towards James Madison and Tulane. It shouldn't be. Obviously, it should be geared towards the system that allows for them to be part of a 12-team playoff when they're clearly not one of the 12 best teams. But I was asking this question at the top of the show, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. If we even went to 24 teams, and we're talking about the best 24, forget, if you're a conference winner and you win your, are they even in the top? Are they even in this tournament if we're talking about 24?
And that's a tough question. I think
that's why I asked it.
Yeah. I kind of, my compromise to the whole thing is when we go to 16, which I think we do, we leave one group of 5 team in no matter what. So they're represented. So maybe the 16th team gets bumped out. In this case, this year, it would have been Tulane would have bumped out USC. USC fans would have been mad. I'm okay with that. The problem is these last 4 playoff games involving group of 5 schools, they've lost by an average of 21.5 points per game. We can't pretend like they were competitive games. I know James Madison showed some fight, and we can't pretend as much as we want to rally around them and the system and try to manufacture a Cinderella, that it would have been more enjoyable to sit and watch Ole Miss and Notre Dame or BYU and Oregon or Texas and Oregon. I that's where I'm caught, because I still think the group of 5 deserves to be represented, but I think you have to be in that top 16.
Well, and the other side of that, Bill, right, is that when you see years where Power 4 teams play Power 4 teams, it's not always what everyone, when we have these hypothetical conversations, expects it to be. You get blowouts all the time. I think there was a stat that went around. There have been more 21-plus point outcomes between Power 4 teams in the college football playoffs history than there have been one-score games in the college football playoffs history. So it's very interesting, and the entire dynamic is obviously very fluid. I think that my biggest question to you in terms of all of that is, next year, is there anything that can change as soon as next year, or are we just bound for having these same arguments 11 and a half months from now?
I think we will until we go to 16, and I'm not sure going to 16 is going to make some of these games any more competitive. Now, the good news is we get a good quarterfinal round. We get compelling matchups. We've already talked a little bit about Alabama, Indiana. I want to see it. I can't wait to watch Ohio State, Miami. That's going to bring in a flood of nostalgia around here in Ohio about the last time these 2 teams played on a huge stage. They still talk about a defensive holding call in Miami, a late defensive holding call back in 2002. Ole Miss or Georgia's probably the least compelling unless Ole Miss wins, and then Lane Kiffin's still not there. And then you get Texas Tech, Oregon, which I think is going to be a fantastic matchup where Oregon's actually favored. So you get through the first round to get to this round, which tells me, Sam, that we probably should have just done an 18 playoff in the first place.
We're going to continue the conversation with Bill Bender, who does a terrific job on all things college football with the Sporting News. One more segment with him, some coaching news to get to, and look ahead to some of these matchups in a couple of weeks. Don't go anywhere. The college football conversation continues on this Monday with Bill Bender of the Sporting News, friend of the program. Been here since the beginning. January 1st, we will celebrate 2 years of SportsWrap. You've been here right from the get-go, man.
Hey, we've evolved into texting each other on the weekends about games. It's a great relationship we have over here. And I enjoy them because they're always timely text about what's going on in college football.
All right, as long as I don't get on your last nerve. So we were talking at the end of the last segment about the matchups that sort of intrigue you the most. I'm of the mindset I don't think Miami Florida State's that close a game. I really don't. And the one play I point to from that game over the weekend with Miami is their decision to kick the field goal. I think they were at the 2, and they kicked the field goal, and I said, you can't win like this. You're not going to be able to beat an Ohio State with the mindset of kicking field goals deep in the red zone. Isn't that why you went and got a guy like Carson Beck in the transfer portal, was for those moments? And them kicking a field goal there felt like such an indictment to me.
Yeah, and, Ohio State's red zone defense is as good as anybody. When all the All-American teams came out last week, there were 7 first-team Ohio State players across the 5 publications. I think we had 4 on our first team, 3 on our second team, and they're going to be angry about losing to Indiana. It's still fun, though. It's going to be fun to see Michael Irvin on the sideline. Mark Fletcher's a really tough inside runner. Miami's defense is going to have to play out of its mind, obviously, but they have the talent on that defensive front. Like I said, Ruben Bain, Akeem Messidor, if they can confuse Julian Sayin like Indiana did, could be interesting. But I'm kind of with you. That feels like an Ohio State kind of 31-10, 31-13 type victory, just without getting into it too much further yet.
Sam, go ahead.
Bill, from a quarterback's perspective in this game, it's one that I can't figure out. Obviously, the Carson Beck saga has been a crazy one this season alone, and Julian Sayin was obviously in Heisman conversations up until the end. So who has the quarterback advantage in this game?
It's a great question. Sayin, because he gets to throw to Jeremiah Smith, who's already amped up because he's playing against his hometown team. But Beck's played in a lot of big games. Has he played well in all of those big games? No, but that experience is very interesting to me. The key will be avoiding turnovers, and he's done that the last 5 weeks. That was the difference. We talked about Reed earlier. Reed had the turnovers. Carson Beck didn't. Miami wins the game. Is Julian Sayin going to take his shots down the field against this Miami defense? Absolutely, and I think they'll hit on a couple of them.
All right, let me ask you a couple of coaching questions here. Brian Smith, the situation at Ohio University. I see people online who are saying, this isn't getting the attention that Sharon Moore was getting at Michigan and all of that. And I'm like, well, one, it's Michigan and it's Ohio University. But that being said, it's not the Ohio State University. People, it's Ohio University. That being said, it is a pretty wild story that's emerged out of this Ohio story.
I mean, is my Ohio University, I'm trying to think where my diploma is. I think it's either over on this wall or upstairs. Not a great look, obviously, for it. And I knew when the story came out that, he was drinking in his office with assistants. I was like, that can't be the reason they're firing him. We're like one of the top 10 party schools in the country. So, or were, and I don't know if we still are. But, obviously the situation wasn't good. And they'll find another coach. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's Ohio University actually made the group of 5 best hire of all time with Frank Solich, in my opinion, because he was a guy that wasn't going to leave, was there forever. And since going from Tim Albin to Coach Smith, and now, whoever takes that job, it's one of the better jobs in the MAC. I can't sell it that way. But as far as getting more national attention, I don't know that it will rise to that, simply because, like you said, outside of my house and my text threads with all my OU buddies, it's probably not as big nationally, unfortunately.
Is Michigan waiting for Kalen DeBoer to bomb out of this thing? Is that why they haven't hired a coach? Because originally we heard 5 to 10 days before they hire a head coach. I get the impression that that's what they're waiting for. Am I wrong?
I still think they might be, but we'll know. I think if they don't hire a coach by the end of this week, then that's what the plan is, to just wait and take a swing at Kalen DeBoer. And I think plan B is just call Brian Kelly if that doesn't work out. and as crazy as that is.
Poor Brian Kelly.
I mean, that's because Brian Kelly's available. Kalen DeBoer is not. Brian Kelly, for all his warts, has proven that he can coach at a high level and be competent at 2 major programs. And I'm not sure anybody else left on the list. My worst take of the weekend was like, after Alabama won, I said, well, DeBoer's probably out, and they got to go after Kenny Dillingham. And by 9 a.m. the next morning, he was already going to be in it. He had an extension to Arizona State. What a bad take by Bill Bender at Sporting News.
Sam, I'm leaving you with the most wonderful coveted spot.
Well, you mentioned it, Bill. What do you make of the Kenny Dillingham extension? Obviously, the talks for the Michigan coach, but this is a coach who made the college football playoff, right? Almost beat Texas in the college football playoff. What did you make of the hire, and how's the Arizona State program as a whole right now?
You got 30 seconds, Bill. Go ahead.
They're going to. That's a great fit, and I'm glad he stayed because he really does care about his alma mater. He said Michigan never offered the job. We'll take his word for it. I think he was probably conflicted if they would have, but happy he's staying.
I thought it was hilarious when he said, we just need to find somebody in Phoenix. Are there any rich people in Phoenix? I need a sugar daddy. Anybody? A lot of people in Scottsdale have money. I don't know about Phoenix, but Scottsdale, yeah. Find some money. Bill Bender, the Sporting News, does a terrific job. As always, joining us here on the show. Hey, have a Merry Christmas, my friend, and we will catch up with you next week.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys. Take care. Merry Christmas.
We're coming back. We'll wrap it up with some odds and ends 10 minutes from now. From the pages of What Are You Thinking? Ed Cooley. Good Lord. Firing water bottles into stands, hitting kids. It's like Will Ferrell in the Candidate, punching babies. Grief. Sam Yarnell hangs with us. There's also some baseball news over the weekend. Munetaka Murakami, I think I said his name right, is joining a major league team, just not the one we were probably thinking he'd join. We'll get to that as well. All right, back to the NFL, Sam. Couple of games I want to highlight. Packers-Bears being one of them. Wow. Talk about, and look, I know Jordan Love gets hurt and he's concussed, and you got Malik Willis in the second half. You can't lose that game. You're Green Bay. You can't lose that game. Again, we've seen this happen a couple times this year where teams need like 4 things to happen in succession, 3 or 4 things to happen in succession. You get the field goal, then you get the onside kick, you get the touchdown to tie the game, and then in overtime, Green Bay, loses the ball, and before you know it, Caleb Williams is throwing touchdown passes. And I'll say this on Caleb Williams. This is where that big time, college experience, playing those big games at USC, win or lose, being in those moments, and how that translates to the NFL, you never know. But it just goes to show you that playing in those big time moments in front of 70,000 people, those moments count for something when you get into a situation like this, Sam.
Yeah, first of all, you're exactly right on the Packers side of this. That you can't lose this game, but all that said, and I tweeted this out when the game was going on. There were a couple of times during that game where you just felt like it was going to come down in a bad way to a Malik Willis deciding play, which it ultimately did. He ultimately fumbled with the lead and it cost them. But this was. Gosh, this was tough to watch for the Packers. It really is. And it's been tough to watch for, a lot of games this season. Let's call a spade a spade. They haven't looked good for as talented as this team is. On the Bears side of things, oh my goodness, Caleb Williams. He made one of maybe the best throws you'll see all year at the end to tie this game. What are we talking about? And then, not to mention the overtime winner, which was arguably a better throw, right? It was impressive quarterbacking in the last, 10 minutes of this game and overtime. And that is, to me, right, what makes Caleb Williams so special. Like you said, Jason, he's got that big game experience, but even beyond that, he's got the the it factor, for lack of a better term. He's got the clutch gene.
Hearing
right?
you say this is shocking.
All of these stereotypes, they're not stereotypes. What's the word I'm looking for? Cliches that we use to describe professional athletes. Caleb Williams finally seems to actually be living up to them.
So weird hearing you say that. You've had an evolution. Let's be honest. You've had an evolution
100%.
on Caleb Williams.
Well, and you'll remember, what did I say about Caleb Williams coming into the season? By the end of this season, we will be talking about Caleb Williams as either a bottom 10 quarterback in the league or a top 10 quarterback in the league. And I didn't think there was any in between. Here's the thing. This season, we've talked about him as both a bottom 10 quarterback in the league at times, and now I think we're recognizing him as a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, what Ben Johnson has done is unbelievable. And again, they've won a lot of those close games that for a decade it felt like they were losing. Those things can sometimes be cyclical. And, next year we could be talking about a team that's, 6-11 just as easily as we're talking about a team that is on the verge of winning a division title. Sunday Night Football. So let's get into it. The Ravens cough up a lead in the fourth quarter again. I mean, that's the bottom. You could point to two games and say the Ravens aren't in the playoffs because of two Sunday night games where they coughed up fourth quarter leads, Sam Yarnell. Week 1 against Buffalo, week 16 here against the Patriots.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the Lions, right? And what is the answer for the Lions? Tenfold the question in Baltimore. I mean, not to say that I don't know. Do they have a more talented roster than the Lions? Like, just from a roster perspective, is their roster more talented? I don't know, but I might make the argument that it is. And the coaching, it's just... Gosh, this team has taken such a fall from grace.
Where's Derrick Henry in the second half of this game, Sam?
On the sidelines? You have a chance. You are down 4 points with 2 minutes left, and you are giving Justice Hill 3 snaps in a row. It is inexcusable. And I know, listen, the fact of the matter is this. Since Mike McDonald left the building, the franchise has been reeling. I mean, reeling. It is not a good situation in Baltimore right now, Jason. I don't know what the answer is. And let's be honest, the Patriots luck boxed their way into another win. They were handed another win by the Baltimore Ravens.
So I guess you don't agree with me that it was Drake May's MVP moment last night.
Oh my gosh, no.
He had 2 turnovers.
No, I don't. No, I don't agree that. And I heard all the MVP chants, and it's ridiculous considering, one, he's not even the MVP of his own team. That's Travion Henderson. And 2, he didn't even win that game for his team last night. That was Ramondre Stevenson.
Folks in New England, the thoughts of Sam Yarnell do not reflect the entirety of this program, but
they should.
Bills fan number 1, Sam Yarnell, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, your team's going to be in the playoffs too, even though they barely beat the Browns. Odds and Ends wraps it up next. Monday Night Football, baseball, and a whole bunch more. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. A couple of reminders. Robert Littall sits in on this show, founder of Black Sports Online. He'll be with us on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Christmas Day, we've got the Year in Review show. It's going to run 2 days, Thursday and Friday. There we go. I decided, Sam Yarnell. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, and there you go. I just decided. We're going to run it for 2 days.
Those of you at home don't know the tireless discussion that went into that decision. And Jason just made it in about 30 seconds. That is decision making, folks. For those of you out there who struggle with decision making, just watch this program. Watch Jason Page. That's a guy who knows how to make a decision.
Yeah, that is CEO. That is next level CEOing. if I ever have seen it myself. A couple of reminders, folks. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. The audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, available wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to this yet, go. It's free. The TV show is there Monday through Friday on every way you could imagine. 45 minutes right there, the TV show, commercial free, on our YouTube channel. In addition to that, Sports Wrap Shorts. If you haven't checked these out yet, they're 1 to 3 minutes long, usually in the minute range, covering the top stories of the day, the biggest games at night, the NFL and college football on the weekends. And we put a lot of work into Sports Wrap Shorts, and it's grown very fast in a very short period of time. Sports Wrap Shorts available on our YouTube channel. Also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page. On our Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. Go and check that out as well. Without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some and ends. Odds and ends. Munetaka Murakami is headed to the Chicago White Sox, Sam Yarnell. 2 years, $34 million. Apparently the market wasn't as spicy for him as he thought it was going to be. Some people worry about his swing and miss numbers and how that translates to Major League Baseball. Going to play some first base, going to DH. You know, White Sox have a lot of young talent on that team. I don't know if they ever turn the corner as long as Jerry Reinsdorf is the owner, but Munetaka Murakami, 2 year sort of prove-it deal with the White Sox.
I am so excited for White Sox fans that they get to experience Murakami for the next 2 years. He is going to hit the cover off the baseball. He is going to be incredible. This is a big step for the Chicago White Sox, getting this kind of talent to come into their organization. Again, I know there's a lot of noise about his swing and, you know, the 90 whatever mile an hour fastballs and his trouble hitting them. Yeah, whatever. It's America. It's Major League Baseball. They have ways to fix that, and he's proven that he can do the hard part already. I'm going to choose to believe in this guy, Jason, and I am so excited for the city of Chicago.
Wilson Contreras dealt to the Boston Red Sox. Everybody making moves except for the New York Yankees, who are just subtracting players from their roster. Wilson Contreras traded to the Red Sox for some pitching prospects, Sam.
Yeah, so I guess the Cardinals are now going to do what I think you and I and a lot of people expected them to do last offseason and at the beginning of last season, right? Which is move all of these players. Contreras being the first one to fall. Obviously now you feel like Arenado will go too, right? And this will be the ushering in of the new era of Cardinal baseball. They've got a lot of good prospects.
Ed Cooley, what were you thinking? The Georgetown Hoyas head basketball coach. By the way, that program is back to some degree of respectability after the Patrick Ewing years. And that pains me to say because he's my favorite player of all time. But Ed Cooley had actually gotten that program into a position where it was starting to play a little bit better. I know they'd struggled a little bit recently. They lose to Xavier, and there's a water bottle incident. There it is, throwing the bottle into the stands. Happens to hit a little kid being held by his mother. Not a good look for Ed Cooley. He's suspended for 1 game. Should it have been worse, Sam?
Yeah, probably. Again, Georgetown basketball, I know 8-4 on the season, 1-1 in Big East play. Not a good 10-year run for Georgetown basketball at this point. And it's tough because it's a program and a school very near and dear to my heart, but gosh, they haven't been the same since that Florida Gulf Coast team ruined them in the tournament all those years ago.
They broke them. They absolutely Florida Gulf Coast absolutely broke them.
Ruined the program.
Was 1 game enough? Should he have been suspended for more than 1 game?
I don't know. I don't know college basketball suspensions like that, but my gut tells me it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've got a Monday Night Football game. 49ers and Colts, week 2 of the Phillip Rivers experience. Colts getting 5.5 at home from the Niners, 46.5 the total, Sam Yarnell. Where are you putting your hard-earned money?
I mean, it's got to be the San Francisco 49ers, right? I don't think I could go anywhere else. The total scares me because of Phillip Rivers. And again, I couldn't go anywhere besides the Niners, and that would primarily be because of Phillip Rivers and all the injuries the Colts have suffered. But You talk about the injury bowl, Jason Page. It turns out it's a Week 16 matchup between the 49ers and the Colts. Think about how many starters from Week 1 are going to be missing from this game. My conservative estimate, between the two starting 22s, I think we're probably missing 11 starters combined.
Think about the fact that Anthony Richardson at one point was the starting quarterback for this team, and now Phillip Rivers is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Just process that for a moment. You'd think you drank too much spiked eggnog or something. Like, what is going on here? We gotta go. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Have a great holiday, my friend.